Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to give an update on the big buck pack that we purchased from Morse Nursery. I want to say it was 3 years ago. We've had mixed luck with them, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But let me first tell you where I am. I'm on the Lone Pine. This is one of my favorite places on the front 70 that I like to hunt. And I've taken some nice bucks nearby here. And this used to be just a farm field when we purchased about 9 years ago, and you can see all of the trees that have popped up. We've got a lot of poplar in here, we've got a lot of dogwood in here, and just a lot of browse around the edges. So this oftentimes looks like an amazing clover field. Right now it looks like a hay field. So I didn't get a chance to plant this year. I thought I'd be able to come in here and mow it down and have the clover pop through. I think we'll get some clover in here, but I don't think it's going to be a feeding frenzy in here anytime soon. So I was just in here yesterday with the flail mower, cutting it down, and it's been so dry around here. We've had like very little rain for weeks. So I don't know if we'll get anything to grow in here between now and in November. But regardless, I am today getting ready to plant 4 replacement persimmon trees. So let's get back to that big buck pack. So in the big buck pack, there were 8 chestnut trees, 2 of each type. And the idea with the big buck pack was that you plant them and you can progressively move them closer to your stand based on the time the fruit drops. In addition to those 8 chestnuts, there were 4 persimmons. And same thing, these are supposed to hold their fruit longer, and you just basically keep moving the deer in closer to the time of hunting season. So I want to say for the chestnuts, there was an August drop, a September, and October, maybe November, I'm not sure. But the idea was move them in closer to where you hunt. And then the persimmon, I want to say was like a November and maybe a December drop. I can't tell. I don't remember. I'll have to go back to that video. But what we have to replace them is magnet persimmon and candy persimmon, 2 of each. So, what was our success rate? You can see these tubes on the ground here. We lost all 4 persimmon, and I lost 2 of my chestnut. Now, I think the persimmon were early graft, first year graft, and I don't think that they were healthy enough to actually be planted. And so the folks at Morse agreed to do replacements due to some communication challenges on both parties' parts. We waited a little bit longer, and they even suggested waiting until they had some more mature ones. So what we have here looks pretty mature and pretty healthy. So I'm excited about that. And they also talked about doing a fall planting versus a spring planting, which is what we did everything in the spring last time. The chestnuts, I'll walk you around and show you those. Some of those are, standing 4 to 8 feet out of the tubes. A couple of them are still in the tubes. And then, as I mentioned, I lost 2. Now, the chestnuts were very vigorous growers, and I don't think that there's an issue at all with the plant quality. We thought we were being smart and save money. We used the sawmill to mill our own stakes, and these weren't white oak or anything like that held up to ground rot. Probably maple, which is probably one of the worst. So you can see this one still is very tall, but it was broken off in the ground. This one broke off in the ground as well. So a lot of our trees were laying over and just didn't have the care they needed. I've since gone back in and reinforced all of the tubes with a T-post of some sort. And so this is what we're using today. These you can get at like Tractor Supply. I want to say they're $4 or $5. And I like them. They're small, they're compact, they go in the ground pretty easy. But the reality is they only cost like $1 or so less than the same size, or maybe a foot taller, 6 inches taller in the regular heavy-duty one. So I figure we'll use these for other things once we pull those out, maybe other trees. I don't know, it's, you know, a couple bucks here and there, everything kind of adds up. So stay away from the wooden stakes. And, you know, I think the survival kits did pretty well. We still have the plastic mats down. I'm going to use some mulch to add around these today. I've got some premium, or just some brown mulch or whatever, the cheapest I could get, just something to hold the moisture. And so I'm hoping that I can get into the ground pretty easily today. It's like I said, no rain, so it might be a bear to get these things buried. Last time we used a 3-point auger, post hole digger, and it worked pretty well, but in the soils around here, due to this, a lot of this being old strip mine land, we don't have, it doesn't really bite and dig in like it needs to. So anyway, let me walk you around and show you what we've got going on with the chestnuts, and then I'm going to get these other trees in the ground. Maybe we'll film a little bit of the process there, and then we'll wrap things up after that. So let's check out those chestnuts. All right, so this particular one right here is one, it might be the only one that's still in the tube. And if I had to guess, that tube probably laid on its side for quite some time, and maybe that's what has slowed the growth down on that one. I don't know if it had gotten chewed on or not, but you can see the leaves in there. It's growing quite vigorously. And I really do like these tubes because they seem to help trap the moisture in, definitely keep the deer from rubbing on them, which they do in this field. You can see this one's doing really well. I am going to, oh, there it is, coming all the way out of the top. So that's probably, I don't know, 2-3 feet out of the top. I am going to cut back around this dogwood here and try to give this thing a little more space. So we'll cut out some of this garbage that's in there. There's this tree back here. This is what's really taken off. There was a second one right on the other side here, and it's gone. It was laying on its side. So you can see this one's probably 6 or 8 feet out. So I've not noticed any fruit or anything off of any of these yet, but I'm quite pleased with how that's doing. So what is that, 3? I'm gonna go up the hill, then we'll come down the hill. So here's number 4. And I would guess this is one of the ones that I had further out the perimeter would have been the early drop. Would have been my plan. I'll have to go back to my other video because I talked about where I put them all. But the idea being, by the time I get to bow season, I'm sitting up in an oak back in here, so I want them closer to bow range. I had one persimmon out here somewhere. Here is another one that's doing pretty well. A couple feet up out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this will be the final one. This one's doing really nice. And I think this is some sort of crabapple tree. For the moment I'm going to keep it, but it may be something I take down later. They do like to come in and rub at the base of this. They haven't done it this year because it was so thick. So this area was all grown up, probably waist high when I mowed it yesterday. And there were a lot of beds in areas I probably should have just left it alone. And I think this was probably a really good bedding area before I screwed it up and started planting in it. I just haven't seen the kind of bucks in here that we saw early on before I kind of started messing around in here. But once we get these trees producing fruit, this will be a hot spot. It's still, when I have cameras in here, which I haven't run any cameras this year, when I have cameras running, this is a nice gathering spot. And so we'll get it cleaned up, make sure we get some stuff planted next year. Maybe vitalized seed. That's what I planted. I did the spring mix last year, but I didn't get around to do the fall mix. And then I did nothing this year. So let's get some trees in the ground, and hopefully we can get through this hard pack and get these figured out where we're going to put them. and we'll wrap things up once we get them in the ground. All right, so let's take a look at this candy persimmon. You can see where the graft is here, but it looks like it's been doing really well. The host is not quite as big around as a pencil, but about half as big. So it looks pretty good, looks pretty healthy. I'm excited to try it out. That's the candy. This is the magnet. It's a little bit smaller, but looks like the graft's been there for a while. So we're gonna give it a go, see how it goes. I've seen mixed reviews of Morse Nursery, and so when I wrap this up, I'll tell you kind of my thoughts on it and whether or not I would purchase more trees from Morse or find an alternative. So stick around and I'll give you some insights on that. All right, so we got our first one in. It was not easy getting into the ground. Nice and dry, so I'm gonna have to come back, make sure I get these watered real good. And then back this weekend to water them again. But I'm reusing this weed mat from a prior one. Get this tucked into the tree pro tube, and get it tightened up, and then we'll move on to the next one. So this is actually a magnet persimmon that we're doing here, and it's probably closest to my tree stand, but at some point we'll put a box blind out here for my son and I to hunt out of. And the persimmons are going to drop later in the season, so that's kind of the idea there. They don't have to be up close because it's going to be gun season by the time we are hunting anything feeding on the persimmon, I think. I could be wrong on that, but I'm not sure how much fruit drops or if it's, reachable or what, So we'll figure all that out. Looks like my removable ties on these I've seen better days. Lasted quite a while though. All right, get some mulch on that, get some water on it. All right, never ceases to fail. I get out here on the hottest days possible. It's a beautiful day in early October. I'm going to say today is the 2nd. And from this view, you should be able to see almost all of my trees from the big buck pack. Starting to the right over here, we have a new persimmon planted. I want to say that was the magnet. Behind it, a chestnut. Behind me, a chestnut. Behind it, a persimmon. Behind the side-by-side, a persimmon. Up in the back, chestnut. Persimmon down front. Chestnut. There's one behind the camera, and there's one in the woods. So a total of 10 trees. And overall, like I said earlier, we've had a good success rate. I'm hoping that these trees will take. I need to go get some water on them just because it's been so dry. And I think we're supposed to get some rain maybe one day this week, but I'll be back this weekend to water them some more. So, in the different forums, we've seen mixed feedback on Morse Nursery. And I'm going to say we've had a similar experience in just the communication. But keep in mind, ownership changed. The new owner is still figuring everything out. When we do get in touch with him. We've had good success. He's been very accommodating and helpful. As I mentioned, these trees that we replaced, the original persimmon, we waited a few years to make sure we had healthier ones. So happy to have a more mature tree to put in the ground than the early starts. So would I buy from them again? I would, and I have. Earlier this spring, I put in 10 apple trees. So 9 apple trees and 1 crab apple over on another part of the property. I have 6 of them coming up a hill. And then another little area I call the corner pocket. I put 3 trees in there and the crab apple. Everything seems to be looking pretty good. Those were planted in the spring. I need to go check them once in the winter. Before winter. One thing I'll mention from a lesson learned is don't try to clean them out after early spring. And almost everyone I pulled out was either covered in ants inside these tubes or they had wasp nests. So I didn't get stung, but they're in there. So try to get them out late winter, early spring. Do your cleanup, make sure everything's secure. Maybe remulch, pull weeds, whatever you need to do. So I kind of learned my lesson on the last, losing those 2 chestnuts. They were fine. They were out of the tubes, and I just let them lay over too long to where they ended up dying. So anyway, if you found this enjoyable, helpful, whatever, please hit that like and subscribe. We got lots of other content on the channel. Hopefully we're going to get into some deer hunting here soon. Time has been limited this year, so I'm not sure how much tree time we'll get. But appreciate you stopping by, and thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.